Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, everyone, my name is Joseph Salazar. I'm your host and moderator for today's webinar. And welcome to Stronger Together, SentinelOne's partnerships to elevate cybersecurity, cyber defenses, sorry. Um, a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, so it will be distributed to all registrants and attendees. Please use the Q&A module on your screen. You should see it on the right-hand side to submit any questions or comments. And if you have submitted your ISC squared IC2 number at the time of registration, you will be getting one CPE automatically credited to your account in approximately 4 to 6 weeks. So it is my pleasure to in bit of an agenda. We're going to be covering ransomware attack and then sort of how to talk and work through with our partners. So it is my pleasure today to introduce our presenters. First, from SecureWorks is Ryan Albin. Ryan, if you would introduce yourself and a bit about SecureWorks, please.
Yeah, of course, Joseph. It's really wonderful to be part of this panel today. My name's Ryan Albin. I'm the Director for Partner and Alliances Solutions within SecureWorks, and we have a rich history of delivering security services at scale using some cutting-edge technology, and we're just thrilled to be working with SentinelOne as a part of delivering those services.
All right. And then next up from Optiv is Kelly Roach. Kelly? Did we lose Kelly? Yeah, it looks like Kelly might have dropped. So we'll have her introduce herself a little bit later. Let me go ahead and go on to Braden. Braden Preston.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Braden Preston. I'm our Senior Director of Product Management here at SentinelOne, responsible for our endpoint security capabilities. I think that today we'll find a really engaging panel with Ryan and Kelly to talk about ransomware and how SentinelOne as a technology with our partners like SecureWorks and Optiv can really deliver complete ransomware protection for your organization, all the way through preparation and potential, if it comes to it, recovery from a ransomware attack. And so I think you'll find a really engaging conversation today. As mentioned, please ask questions in the chat, and we'll ensure to get to them as many of them as we can, either throughout the presentation or at the end. All right, and so I'll kind of kick off here by just giving, for those of you who are unaware of SentinelOne and what we do at SentinelOne, just kind of start from the technology center of the partnerships we're going to talk about between SentinelOne and Optiv and SecureWorks. If you're not familiar with SentinelOne, we are a security platform, and we call that Singularity Platform. And from Singularity to the Singularity Platform, we deliver to protect you against a number of attacks and attack vectors, covering the use cases of endpoint security, traditional EPP or endpoint protection platform capabilities, malware, ransomware, in-memory attacks, etc. Endpoint detection and response, so leveraging the deep visibility that we collect from the host to provide detection and then allow you to respond and recover from those attacks. We also deliver identity-based protection or identity-based solutions. So you have the ability to understand if there's credential misuse or stolen credentials happening in the environment. Cloud security use cases, whether that's cloud workload protection, cloud posture management, kind of that full CNAPP, if you're familiar with that acronym, Cloud Native Application Protection capabilities. Vulnerability management, and then services leveraged via our partners that we're going to talk about today. All built upon that Singularity platform and the foundation of our Singularity Data Lake. Really any data that you want to bring in from any source to be able to provide robust extended detection and response capabilities with a robust AI capability on top to accelerate your analysts and allow them to perform higher order tasks by providing that guidance and triage through our Purple AI capabilities. So that's the technology. And as we talk about ransomware today, we really want to kind of dissect the attack a little bit. And really, you've probably seen slides like this before, this anatomy of attack sort of view. But basically, there are multiple stages within a ransomware attack. It's not just, ransomware gets placed and runs and all of a sudden you're encrypted. There are multiple places, even prior to the attack or accessing the endpoint, where you can begin to prepare to protect your environment and then be able to respond to them. And we're going to talk about kind of those stages as we run through the agenda today, and how the unified capabilities of SentinelOne and our partners, SecureWorks and Optiv, can help deliver that complete ransomware protection. So we're going to talk about preparation, and here's where we'll kind of really get into the meat of our discussion, kind of starting of it. And when you prepare for your security program, when you're analyzing and assessing that security program, you need to ensure that you're discovering blind spots, prioritizing your risk, and then minimizing that risk. And so, we have technology that allows you to do that with SentinelOne. We can discover risks, we can scan the environment, understand unprotected assets, ensure we deploy to those unprotected assets. But maybe I'll turn it over to Ryan here, and maybe Ryan, you can give us kind of your view from a SecureWorks perspective on how you prepare your environment to ensure that you're protected from ransomware or other attacks.
Yeah, Braden, great question. Having a strong defense, you absolutely need to take the time to prepare and understand your environment and what it looks like from the attacker's perspective to make that initial entry. To your ransomware timeline at the endpoint, there's a whole series of activities that are beginning to the left of that, and getting visibility to those parts of your environment is absolutely essential, where you can help see the earlier stages of an intrusion before you get to this point. So we really emphasize complete visibility, having understanding where your environment is, that you have the right sensors and instrumentation deployed, including SentinelOne to bring in that visibility, and then start examining that data for the prelude, if you will, to the threat actor's action on objective, detonating a payload in the environment. So complete visibility is absolutely essential for this.
Awesome. And Kelly, I think you were able to come back here. Apologize for the technical difficulties you had. Yeah. Do you mind? I mean, we're in the middle of it, but do you mind giving a brief intro of yourself, and then maybe your thoughts on how to best prepare an environment for an attack?
Yeah. So apologies. Internet always goes out when you need it most. Kelly Roach, I'm Demand and Delivery Manager here at Optiv. I oversee our secure endpoint practice. I've been here going on 10 years. And I spend most of my time kind of doing this, right? Talking about endpoint security, talking about security as a whole, and helping organizations understand where they are in their cybersecurity journey, and helping develop solutions that, meet those changing business requirements, regulatory requirements, people, process. So kind of leading into that really is preparation, right? So what I normally do when it's preparing, whether it's, ransomware or just threats, right? Threats in general, is I like to start at what does good look like for me? If I could start fresh, and this is what end state from a solutioning standpoint looks like, and think about the capabilities and the technologies that exist today and functionality that is important to my business. And I work my way backwards from that. And I start kind of being able to identify technologies that can meet these use cases, meet these requirements, kind of start building out that solution. And then you can identify gaps, right? Maybe you don't have all the right tools and tech in your environment today, so there could be some blind spots. And that's a way to discover those. And you can start checking those things off the list of, these are critical components that I need my solution to have. And that really helps narrow down focus a little bit, right? It makes this vast kind of IT tooling industry get a little bit smaller, because not everybody's the same, regardless of, what we find on the internet. It's not. So that's a good way to start working your way backwards to get to the starting point. So blind spots, exposure, right? Identifying kind of those areas that, again, could be exploited because you don't have proper coverage. And ultimately, in the end, you start minimizing the risk, right? So that's all of the preparation that at least I kind of go through in my whole thought process.
And
thanks.
Kelly,
So,
if I could,
yeah, sure, Ryan.
if I could just build on Kelly, your point quickly. I mean, it's really well said. Knowing what you have and where it is. Having an inventory is not maybe the most sexy thing to do within IT and security, but it's absolutely essential. You can't defend what you don't know you have.
Yep.
And that's absolutely critical to that preparation stage.
For sure, 100%.
So I think really great points, Ryan and Kelly. And I think from the technology perspective that SentinelOne brings, we have the ability to give you that network visibility, right? We can actively scan and fingerprint those devices so that you're hopefully not managing your inventory on a spreadsheet, right? You have a tool that can do it, can ingest that data, can allow you to view all the applications that are installed on those assets. So then you can begin to prioritize what vulnerabilities those applications may have, et cetera. One thing that I kind of always find interesting when you're talking about preparing is that talk with some customers who think, okay, I'm prepared, I'm done. But preparation is kind of an ongoing process, right? It's like a never-ending thing. You're always preparing. And I was wondering if maybe, Kelly, you could talk a little bit about that, kind of the ongoing assessment you have to do. It's really preparing every day, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that's something that I probably harp on a lot in discussions with different organizations, is nothing that you're going to do or plan for once you get it all implemented, right, is set it and forget it. We want it to be, but it's not. So there's this constant state of assessments. So you assess a tool or you assess your environment, you deploy said changes, you manage, you circle right back around and assess again, right? It's this constant, snake eating its tail type visual, but that's what it is. You're just going to keep doing it over and over. And the reason being is that threats are consistently changing, right? Full stop. We, as hard as we try to keep up with their change, we all go to bed at night. So there is this aspect of, we have to stay ahead. We can't just go, what we did today was enough, right? No, it's not enough. You have to continuously go back again, relook at what your organization is doing. If you're having to file or follow strict, compliance, right, aspects or regulatory things that are foundational, you have to keep cycling through and assessing the tools and tech that you have, the policies you have in place, the types of devices that exist. Where is your organization moving from an infrastructure standpoint? Are you going from being predominantly corporate owned on-prem? Now we have cloud footprint and we're doing a lot more, BYOD so that we can decrease our investment in hardware. All of those things matter. And kind of organizations are in this constant state of change. So you have to also be in a constant state of change and kind of be comfortable being uncomfortable, if you will.
Awesome. Ryan, anything you want to add there? I think there's a lot of great points, but, hop on here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if I had a nickel for every time I said get comfortable being uncomfortable, I know my team would I would have retired by now. But I think the points are, it's important for us as operators and professionals in the field to embrace this culture of continuous improvement. Better, never done. Let's keep working on this.
Yep.
But as communicators to our business, to our stakeholders, to our leadership, we need to communicate that externally of this is a process, this is a journey, this is not set it and forget it. We bought a solution, we deployed it, we implemented. That's the beginning. That's not the end. So I think it's really important as security professionals to work on those communication skills with senior management and senior leadership. I will guarantee you threat actors are not set it and forget it. They're not done. No. They are innovating. They are tirelessly trying to find better, faster, cheaper ways to infiltrate our environments. we, as defenders, we need to respond with similar force.
Yeah, 100%.
You're always be preparing, I guess. Never stop preparing. And one of the things that I'm not going to say this, but you could probably know that I work for SentinelOne. I am biased, but having a unified platform that allows you to deploy the agents and the capabilities you need from that unified platform, whether it's cloud security use cases, identity use cases, endpoint security use cases, do posture management, vulnerability detection, vulnerability identification, all from one platform, allows you to unify, but that platform is also open. So as you're going through these continuous assessments, you're always preparing and you realize, oh no, there's another data source that I need to integrate with this data. The Singularity platform, the Singularity data lake allows you to integrate that data seamlessly. So now you can begin to correlate it across the endpoint data, the identity data, and the native data collection that is providing. So you already have that tool suite in place. So as you're going through this continuous assessment, continuous preparation, as you make those corrective actions to your program, that same platform can support it. And our great partners on the call can support that journey as well, which is fantastic. All right. So
I think that's a really good point. Real quick, I think that's a super good point that you brought up around like kind of a singular platform, right? And integrations. So one thing that as, kind of infrastructure's changing, right? We're getting away from on-prem. A lot of things are going to the cloud. Threats are consistently changing. Attack surface is not getting smaller, unfortunately. So my biggest driver, and this was a conversation I had throughout kind of every conference I went to last year or talking with clients, was doing more with less, right? How can you do more with less within your environment? So from a management perspective, you're not increasing your kind of like your tool bloat, right? You're reducing it with the potential to reduce cost, right, behind it. Manpower overhead comes down. People can focus on other things without sacrificing your, right? How do you do that? And SentinelOne plays very heavily into that discussion, right? Where, hey, look at all of these security capabilities, features, functionalities, the ability to integrate, big word, integrate, enrich your data, and provide that additional coverage into your attack surface with a single console, right? And now that you've got a data lake built in, you have the Purple AI, ways that, again, can streamline security analysts, people that are consumers of the tool, not just admins, right, of the tool and policy. You're seeing that change where I can have all of this robust security and this functionality, but I don't need to do it with 10 to 12 different technologies, right? And I'm reducing the load on my endpoints and my end user experience. I just wanted to bring that up because you made that comment, and that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
The points of being open are something that SecureWorks has always embraced, being open and being able to work with different technologies. And I think that's why the relationship with SentinelOne has been so exceptional for us, is that spirit of openness, having the platforms, the APIs, the tooling, that you can really expand and have a very rich ecosystem, to help with that technology journey as you're trying to get the visibility. And, I think as defenders, attackers have first mover advantage, right? We're always going to be reacting to what attackers do against our environments with that posture, and having open and having the right depth and technical integrations has been really wonderful to see, to help present a united front against the attacks that we're seeing.
Awesome. And Ryan, you said that preparation maybe isn't the most sexy thing that we can do, but if we spend a lot of time on it, so maybe we'll move on to kind of protect from here, and move on to maybe when you hear about ransomware protection and stopping ransomware, I think a lot of people's mind immediately goes to what's installed on the host and how does it stop it? What is that agent that's there that is doing the work for me to ensure that I don't get breached? And that is really where SentinelOne as a product shines. Our ability to prevent ransomware at the host, so that you ensure that the attack doesn't spread, your files aren't encrypted, and you don't have impact to your business operations and business continuity. And that ransomware prevention, that complete ransomware prevention that we talk about, for us at SentinelOne from a technology perspective, comes in a variety of forms. We have the ability to leverage both static AI, static machine learning on the host to do static-based detection, and also are analyzing behaviors that an attacker might exhibit on a host. Those behavioral-based prevention capabilities. If we start to see activities, recon activities, or credential stealing activities or others, we're able to stop that from a behavioral perspective to really neutralize those threats, both known and unknown. We made the comment earlier where a lot of times attackers might have the first mover advantage, right? Because if you're leveraging a technology that is solely reliant on static signatures, hashes, C2 communication, IPs, that sort of thing, you are always going to be behind. That's why it's critically important to employ models, AI, if you will, machine learning on the host itself to ensure that you're not reliant on signatures. You're able to pull out feature vectors indicative of attackers and apply the prevention there. But that's not where we stop from a technology perspective. We also have the ability within that same agent, that same unified platform, to protect identities and credentials. And that's defending your identity at the domain controller, detecting identity attacks, leveraging, your enterprise AD or cloud-based Azure AD, being able to see the benefits of all those high fidelity data collection that we have to take action and protect those credentials, and also defending that identity on the endpoint. Ensure that an attacker is not able to dump creds from LSAS on a Windows machine and get plain text credentials. Protecting your ACLs and making sure that they're set up, or ACLs, access control. I've used two different acronyms before: access control list, ACL, ACL. Making sure that you're able to understand what privileges and rights those users have, and then protect those users. And then finally, a technique that I think is just really cool: being able to plant lures or other decoys in the environment to steer attackers away from your critical assets, but also force them to reveal their techniques to you. So you're doing a little bit of, some double agent kind of work there. You're forcing them to show their hand so that you can turn around and prevent them later. And that's just the technology part. Kelly, I'll let you take the first crack at this one from a protection perspective, and how a complete security program leveraging technology and people and partners can help with ransomware protection and other attack protection.
So protection is pretty big, right? When we look at it, I think traditionally, I come from the old, hey, the agent was more of a handshake, right? And then you had to go and install all the individual security modules on the endpoint, and they used the agent to go and talk and get policy from, whatever the central management console was. The moment that a singular agent came out that could execute and do all of those things and not just focus on the signature based, right? We were taking that next step into behavioral, machine learning, AI, all of that. Things immediately changed. You're seeing, granted, ransomware is not going to go away, right? And I'm more of I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist, right? Where as much as I want to be 100% secured and protected and all of these things kind of checked off from a security standpoint, I know that I'm not, right? It's not if it'll happen, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So having a protection solution and the capabilities that you guys have within your platform kind of reduces that risk though, right? So the when it happens is not as astronomical from a ransomware or anything other perspective. Plus, the way that your tooling works in comparison to a decade ago, right? And what we were seeing in the market then is completely different. You're able to execute faster, right, on a potential alert or incident, which is obviously, if you can execute quicker, you're ultimately able to quarantine, stop things from spreading. You've got that real nice rollback functionality that I greatly appreciate as well. And then the ability to see into other aspects of security, not just endpoint specific stuff like your next gen AV and the device components, but the identities, right? Identities and credentials. We know that identity security has kind of really come to the forefront in the last, maybe 3-4-ish years. And everything that you're really seeing is, identity's the beachhead, right? It's always going to be identity now. And I think that I've spent more time talking around going from the old school mindset of an endpoint is, your laptop, your desktop, your mobile phone or your device, into, it's all of those things, but also it's your people, right? It's your people that are able to access your data, your enterprise data from whatever. They're and it's securing the identity component. Huge step in kind of helping stop or slow down attacks in general, right? Not just ransomware, but across the board. So that's my whole big long pitch around that.
Oh, that's really great. Yeah, I think sometimes when you're talking about technology, the people and the identities almost get overlooked, right? Even back in the prepare stage, ensuring people are trained, not just your IT staff and your security staff, but users. Like, don't click on that phishing email. Luckily, there's technology in place, through SentinelOne that can protect credentials if that does get clicked. But that piece is critically important. Hopefully, not overlooked too often.
100%, because it's going to happen. It doesn't. Yes, you should have all of the people, the process, the training. You could lay everything out and it be with like a workflow, SOP, documentation standpoint and tooling, check every single box and it be, chef's kiss, perfect. And you can still get got, right? And it's because we're human. We're inherently going to make mistakes. We're going to click on something because it was just that good, and it got us and it's going to do some damage, but it won't do that bad of damage if you have the right type of tooling applied in the environment and to those endpoints, right? To anything really from just a full-blown security perspective. If you have the right controls in place, you're going to minimize what could actually have happened if you didn't have the right type of tooling. So that's kind of how I go about it, is like, it's going to happen. We're inherently going to make a mistake, right? We're not perfect. But as long as we have the right things in place and the right type of processes, we'll be okay, right? It shouldn't hurt that bad. Just might, hurt my feelings, but that's fine.
Ryan, what are your thoughts here on the protection angle from your perspective, personal or SecureWorks?
Yeah, I think we're really aligned here as a community in detecting a threat actor early in the environment, but having the confidence that with controls like rollback capability deployed to the endpoint, having the deception capabilities, those kinds of backstopping can give you the confidence that you can recover quickly and at a low cost, and really keep your business operating. Right, at the end of the day, we're here to secure your mission, to ensure your businesses can go forth and achieve the outcomes you're looking for and defend you from adversaries that want to monetize your environment. And if I could, just for an example, what we see from ransomware environments is there's so much of the story happens left earlier in the kill chain than what we would see than ransomware detonating on a machine. If you think about it, we do have lots of humans in our environments. They're going to click on links that look convincing, that could lead to these early stages of compromise. And there's time. There's time within that window to detect and disrupt a threat actor before they get to action on objective. And let's remember, the action objective of encrypting the machine, what the threat actor wants is to monetize. They want to get paid to help you restore that environment. So, we need to take these opportunities throughout the attack, understand the kill chain, and disrupt the adversary. And if the unfortunate does happen, the ransomware is able to be deployed, you have that rollback capability integrated into the solution. And from our alliance's perspective and how we brought forth our solution, we're so excited about that capability and be able to bring it into our MDR solution, because we know the power that can have to help a business come back online. So, again, just want to make a couple points about this particular case study. As we discussed, a compromised document gets clicked on. You see obfuscation of downloading a payload that results in a command tool that the threat actor can use in that environment. And then you see the exfiltration of data, making a backup copy for you, if you will. And to enable that second round of extortion potential. If the adversary has sufficient privilege in the environment, they could disable some other tooling that would then bring them about to deploying an environment. And while this particular case study, we know that the threat actor was in the environment for 2 weeks. That window of time continues to get shorter and shorter. So speed of response and urgency is paramount. If you'll indulge me for a minute, you remember back to 2015, we used to talk of dwell time in months. And threat actors, we talked about continuing to innovate, coming down to weeks, to days, and now sometimes even inside of a day, we can see a threat actor move from intrusion to action and objective in just a few hours. So having the confidence of a solution like SentinelOne in place is again, gives you that confidence to move forward, but being able to detect the adversary in those earlier stages can help you even minimize the impact and cost to your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up too, and one that last year my team specifically was helping migrate a client from a legacy solution into SentinelOne. And I'd say we were halfway in, right? Half the environment was on SentinelOne, which was fantastic. And because we're people and we're inherently going to click on things that we probably shouldn't, someone clicked on something that they shouldn't have. And we actually got to utilize that rollback functionality in real time. And let me tell you the difference that made, because in that moment, when I was notified that this is what's happening and occurring, there's that immediate, oh no, and you get the kind of like that little pit knot in your stomach. And then it's, oh no, we're fine, right? Like we've got it. We've rolled back. We used rollback functionality. It was great. Okay, so we are all right.
It's wonderful that the capability's there.
Yeah.
Important to recall at this point, you can roll back. There's still a threat actor in your environment that has the ability to deploy software to your machines.
Yes.
So, working into the recovery aspect of this, figuring out how the threat actor got in, being able to eradicate that threat actor either through identity changes, other controls in place within your environment. I think that's a point that we tend to depersonalize these kinds of attacks. Even we call it ransomware.
Yeah.
It's people on the other side of the keyboard deploying software in your environment. And as Joseph, as a mentor to you and I, would say, that's our environments are contested space. Threat actors are trying to make an incursion into the environment to achieve their objectives, and we're trying to defend them from doing the same. So really important that you can evict that threat actor and then proceed with your recovery.
Yeah, I think I don't want to get lost on that point on both sides, right? There's people involved on both sides. There's people developing, deploying these malicious attacks, ransomware, or whatever it happens to be. because they have a motive, right? And it's typically, like most people, that motive is financial, right? They want to do something in order to monetize it. Now, there are also cases, the hacktivists out there that are looking to cause reputation damage and others, but at the end of the day, it's still financial, right? It hurts the company that's trying to protect themselves in the wallet. And then on the I don't know, for lack of a better term, we'll call them the good guy side, but there's users of these machines that no matter how much training you give them are always going to believe that they are the ones that won the $1 million from this random email, and they're going to click on the link and provide whatever credentials they need to, because today was their day. They finally won this imaginary contest that they never even registered for. And so that ability to analyze the attack, understand the root cause and how far it may have spread, either on protected or unprotected or unmanaged assets, is critical. And a lot of the tools that SentinelOne delivers out of the box, and then the minds that our partners deliver behind it allow us to analyze those attacks. The tools like Storyline within the product that show you the root cause and the scope of a given attack in a nice graphic timeline view. And then I think Ryan highlighted this really well. When back in the dark ages, we would talk about hundreds of days of dwell time. Now we're in a time where milliseconds matter. So being able to respond instantaneously or near instantaneously by quarantining a host from the network, terminating a malicious process to stop the attack where it is, lock that attacker down, so then you can then recover. And that recovery could be a rollback, Kelly, as you mentioned. Let me get my environment back to a known good state, but it can't stop there. You need to have the data, the telemetry for you to analyze everything that happened so you can evict that attacker completely from the environment. You can go back through your preparation loop and say, okay, what happened? Was I adequately prepared? What can I do to reassess that? And that's where, from a recovery perspective, I like to, sorry for the pun, dwell on the fact that, it's a continuous assessment when we're here. And like recovery probably doesn't end either, just like preparation doesn't end. And it's like one of, it's a yin and yang sort of, that's a bad analogy, but, it's kind of a continuous loop. I'm recovering and preparing all at the same time, whether you're recovering from a pen test or a real attack. And I'd love for your kind of thoughts on that. Maybe just expanding upon that post-breach recovery, after you've cleaned up, after you've returned back to normal business operations. Like, what do you have to go from there? What's next? And maybe Kelly, I'll hand the mic to you first on that one.
So I don't know if anybody was like former military. I was, and one of the things that we do all the time, whether it was a positive or a negative experience, right, is an after-action review. I take this very seriously. We got the attacker out, we've got ourselves back in a good state, right? We quarantined, we stopped the spread, minimized the impact overall, because yes, we had all of these things in place, right? The proper controls and the process and the people. Great. What happened and what can we do better so that this specific situation doesn't happen again? And it's going back and looking at it. And you brought it up, the storyline aspect. I'm a huge visual person. Always have been. Love it. Don't just tell me the story, show it to me, right? Because when you show it to me, things start to register in a different type of way. Utilizing that data specifically after the fact, right, to understand and to be able to really drill down into what occurred can help you kind of make changes, whether those changes are, technology policy specific changes, right? Hey, we're going to have to kind of sharpen up and tighten, harden, whatever term you want to use, our security controls here, or it's putting in a new specific process over here, or it could be restricting, right, users' accounts, right? How many people actually have like full admin rights on their endpoints blows my mind when I talk to certain organizations on they don't need that, by the way. They shouldn't have that. And kind of going through that process, right, of reviewing where that break in the chain occurred. because that's going to help you in planning forward and making appropriate changes in your environment so that at least that specific situation is less likely to happen again. Whatever set that off, right? We can potentially not have that. Not to say something's not going to happen again, because it will, but having that continuous, again, assessing, right? Then, like, assessing what's going on and reviewing and making changes. So that's kind of the importance of, again, that snake eating its tail type visual consistently throughout all aspects of your cybersecurity program.
I think that's, really well said, Kelly. And, to your point of after action report, I couldn't agree more. It's something our incident response practice helps take our clients through. Unfortunately, if we meet a new client through an emergency situation, they may not have solutions or services like we're discussing today, and they call us in their time of need to help with recovery and eviction. Doing that after action report really is illuminating for guiding those next steps for your program. And what we find time and time again, this is 2022 only because we haven't finished our year report for 23. So our last full year of data, it's vulnerabilities on the perimeter, right? We see time and time again, threat actors are able to compromise vulnerabilities on the perimeter, make their way into the environment, have whatever dwell time they need to stage and deploy a ransomware payload to machines where it's, continues to be phishing. Users are, continuing to be targeted. It's going to lead to these identity compromises that can also be a gateway to entry. And being able to analyze that data and mapping it back to MITRE, so you can tell that a story to the MITRE attack framework. So you can tell that story to your internal team, to your leadership, to your stakeholders, and help frame that next investment for your security program. Absolutely essential in that recovery period. It's great to get the business back online. What can we learn from this? How can we prevent it from happening next time? How do we need to diversify our portfolio of security tools and solutions to shore up a particular area in the program? And time and time again, I'm just delighted to see how our IR practice is able to counsel customers through, this journey and getting them back to a healthy state. Braden, I think I may have lost your audio.
I think everybody did because everybody lost my audio because I hit the mute button. So I've recovered from that now. Maybe we can. But Kelly, I just wanted to know, you were nodding your head a lot during what Ryan was just saying. Any thoughts in particular that you were nodding to that you maybe wanted to highlight a little bit more?
I think one thing that I liked, and it was, you said journey, right? This is a journey. Whether your journey is trying to find the right solutions to fit your organizational requirements and the journey of where you're going to, or the journey of, responding to an incident, getting through it, right? And doing that IR and the recovery. Cybersecurity, from A to Z is a constant journey. There really is no comfortable end state. And if you find yourself, for any organizations that are on this call, if you find yourself going, I feel really good, this is a great state to be in. That is not the feeling that you should actually have, right? You should never be that comfortable. There needs to be, I don't want to call it anxiety, right? But like a heightened sense of, I've got to keep getting better. Because once you're comfortable, that's kind of where you start to see things sort of fall apart, right? Whether it's, people clicking on things they shouldn't, not having the right tools to meet changing requirements, not having appropriate integrations, right? And that's where you kind of let it all go. So, yeah, I thought that was a really good way to talk about just cyber in general, is that it's just a constant journey.
It is, and I do think this field attracts vigilant. It does attract people with a healthy skepticism and paranoia, right? Because we always need to be on guard. But I do think there is hope and there is good news that we can for just a small moment enjoy a brief victory. I'm just really excited to see how law enforcement and community partners and other players in the space are uniting and fighting back. And a few weeks ago, SecureWorks and many other industry partners were able to work with law enforcement to disrupt Lockbit, probably the most prolific group of the past 2 years, extracting millions, if not from businesses all over the world. And like I shared with our incident response lessons learned, I would encourage folks to check out our blog post of really breaking down Lockbit and understanding their tradecraft, how they operate, and think about that for your own environment. If reading about this incident, if this were me, what would I do to react to an attack taken about in this part? And then, again, in terms of imposing costs within the criminal underground, Lockbit's going to claim that they're back up and running. I still think the operation was a complete success, because now within the underground community, when choosing your ransom as a service affiliate, do you want to pick Lockbit again? Because they got taken down a while ago. Things that we can do as a united front to erode that trust within the criminal underground, I think, is good news that we should be able to celebrate briefly and then go back to that healthy skepticism and constantly trying to improve within our environment.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome point and really, I think on the recovery side, recovery isn't just an organization problem, right? It could be a global problem. You're recovering from not just an attack, but a concerted campaign by highly funded individuals, nation state actors sometimes, and being able to have the customer industry law enforcement partnership to ensure that you can run these takedown campaigns, in leveraging industry and individual organizations and even individuals to influence proper legislation and regulations to ensure that we're all protected is a critical part of the recovery process and future preparation in getting in the prepared side. And it really never stops, ensuring that we're always prepared. We're protected in the event that some of those preparation steps aren't adequate or humans make mistakes, as Kelly pointed out very astutely. And then when they happen, being able to recover, whether that's recovering on an individual endpoint, recovering across your entire organization, or like you did at SecureWorks and other industry partners, coordinating with outside organizations to take down a really, really sophisticated threat actor and threat group. So it all comes kind of full circle, which is really exciting. We're almost to the Q&A portion, but Kelly and Ryan, I really appreciate your time on this kind of panel discussion. Maybe just a couple minutes from each of you. Any final thoughts you wanted to part here before we jump to Q&A?
Brian, you want to go first?
I would love to. It's, this is if there's any bright spot to take away from what we've seen ransomware do to the industry, it's brought extraordinary focus, right? Suddenly we need to, respond to an existential threat to businesses, and help secure our customers. So I think by putting in place the right controls to defend against that threat, you're also defending against a wide catalog of other types of threats, be it nation state intrusions for espionage purposes, be it hacktivists. It's by really focusing on the controls and the capabilities to respond to ransomware, you're addressing a lot of other areas within your security program too. So it's I want folks to keep that in mind. It is a journey, as Kelly and I were talking about. There is no done. There's constant improvement and iteration. And I think what's really great about this the cybersecurity community too is there's so many resources available, so many great partners to work with, so many great projects with vendors and other partners to collaborate. We know threat actors collaborate. They have very extensive networks and ecosystems where they work together. And I think it's important for us in the community to lean in and partner with each other and respond to threats of this nature in a concerted fashion.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed a lot of it, right? It's cybersecurity is just a consistent evolution, right? If you're looking at foundational things that are important, right? Some people it's, going with NIST or ISO or PCI compliance or CMMC, or I'm trying to achieve zero trust. And then your infrastructure is changing, right? You're getting more virtualization, you're getting a cloud footprint, you got a remote workforce, thanks COVID, right? Like all of these things kind of hit really hard in 2020, whether you were ready for it or not. And organizations got kind of sucked into making all of these changes. And then at the same time, technology vendors, right? Those that create all the good stuff are rapidly trying to change to meet kind of these requirements. And the bad guys, I mean, man, what a time to be alive for them, right? In the moment that these organizations are making all of these super uncomfortable, unknown changes to their environments, perfect opportunity, right, to take advantage. And it's kind of like, hey, we're in this state now where everybody can kind of breathe what we want it to look like in the future. And I would say that that's the biggest thing, right? Going back to, I think what I said in the beginning is start at the end, right? What does that perfect future state look like? Will it be perfect? Probably not, but we can solution around that, right? So what does good look like? And then let's work our way backwards from there to accomplish it. That will go from giving you a narrow focused point of view into looking at a specific domain area or specific tool, into really bridging out into the overall cybersecurity program at your organization. So kind of get rid of the tunnel vision, really open it up and look at it as a whole and developing your solution. And you can obviously lean very heavily into Sentinel-1 to more with less, right? Provide that security with less tools individually, in your organization, and not sacrifice your security for it. So that's my bigger takeaway from everyone here.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Ryan. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Not just thank you for this panel, but also thank you for making Sentinel-1 a part of your portfolio and what you deliver to our joint customers. So thanks a lot for that. And we have time for questions. So I'll pivot over to the Q&A portion of the show. And I think, Joe, you've been collecting some questions. Maybe you can help us sift through all these and answer them.
Yeah, so we've got one. First of all, someone wants to know if Ryan plays the guitar or if those are just for display.
That's a great question. Not as much as I'd like. So it's they're real. They do get played. So when I'm not presenting on webinars, sometimes I'm playing some songs. But yep, they're real.
Okay, right. So this question is actually rather interesting. Where can I get hard factual data to defend this is a customer, to defend our choices for choosing SentinelOne and SecureWorks versus Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and MS Sentinel, because he wants to sort of fight the battle that solution right now is better than what they have, than what Microsoft is offering.
Yeah, I can probably take the first crack of that, and I think I'll start, with probably the premise of the question. I think trying to compare SentinelOne plus SecureWorks with 2-point solutions like Defender and Sentinel together is like comparing apples and oranges, right? Leveraging a best-of-breed unified platform, endpoint security, identity, the cloud security solutions, all completely integrated with a robust XDR security data lake, with the backing of a partner like SecureWorks, is just incredibly powerful. And it's not something you're going to get from Defender for Endpoint plus Sentinel-2 solution. Sentinel acts like a SIEM. Defender acts like an endpoint security solution. You got to integrate them. And then, I think we hear this a lot, right? I'm already an E5 customer. Why don't I just use this thing that's available to me? That's fine, but I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, but I kind of mean it. There's a reason why it's included, right? There are add-ons that you're going to have the complete security program. And it's just not going to deliver to the promise that a integrated solution like SentinelOne with partners delivering like SecureWorks and Optiv here. So Kelly or Ryan, you want to take any part of that?
I actually had a very similar conversation first thing this morning with another client, right, where budgets are either flat or they're smaller this year, right? And you're correct. Most organizations do typically own some sort of Microsoft licensing, right? Whether it's E3 or E5, that kind of thing. So I always get asked the question because it's, hey, our CFO or infrastructure, whomever, right, wants us to look at our Microsoft subscription. Totally fine, right? 100% get it. Typically, it's from a cost perspective. There are a lot of caveats into making that move. The first one being, and what I always ask is, how are you managing your devices today? If you're not already utilizing Intune, right, you've moved away from like SCCM and that kind of stuff and GPOs, we're going to go and have to make that more modern device management approach and start managing corporate owned, BYOD, all that fun stuff through Intune. The other piece of that is operational debt. Kind of, are you on the most current OS, right? Operating systems. There are restrictions there. If you're not on the most current operating system version, you're going to lose features and functionality. Patch level, be on the most current patch level, device stability, reboot cadence. All of these things can negatively impact your MDE deployment. Administrative kind of debt, you're going to need a clear division of duties. Why? Because your configuration management team will now have to also do AV policy deployment, MDE policy deployment, and also do troubleshooting those devices. So if those are separate teams, guess what? There's going to be some cross-training or a redistribution of workload. That's one kind of big piece. And then analysis paralysis. If you're going to move from a SentinelOne to a Defender for Endpoint, you're going to lose that central management console, right? Again, because policy management such is going to be in Intune. And now I want to go look at alerts and triage and threats and incidents. All that stuff is going to be in a separate console where you're going to need to do some KQL queries. You're not going to have that kind of nice dashboard-like feature that you're used to. And from a capabilities perspective, what SentinelOne does, and maybe their next-gen AV, right, like your specific module, could be sprinkled throughout what Defender for Endpoint gives you. So there's a lot of caveats and things like that, and it sounds really good on top, but there's a lot of preparation that is involved, and typically the cost of doing that outweighs that move, right? So that's my feedback. If you want to talk more, feel free to reach out.
I'll be brief because I know we're coming against time here. I think I love the question really because it really speaks to, as professionals, what we need to do to communicate externally to our leadership where we're making our investments, why we're making those investments.
Yep.
I think within this field, we can get carried away with speeds and feeds. We can get carried away with technology. But at the end of the day, we're here to help secure our businesses so our businesses can carry out their mission. And a key part of doing so is to communicate effectively with our leadership and provide the information to stand by our decisions and why we chose the partners we chose.
All right, so that puts us at time. If there are any other questions that we didn't get to, we will go ahead and follow up with you via email. Once again, thank you very much for joining. I thought this was a very good webinar. Again, we will be sending a link for replay back to everybody. And thank you, Ryan, Kelly, Braden, for your hard work and support. And we will see everyone at the next one. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Braden. Thanks, Kelly. Take care.